What's happening, Browns fans? What's happening, followers of the OBR streaming network? Welcome to week 5 of Pete and Joe breaking down the Browns. My man Pete Smith is here, and my name is Joe Mazzullo. And Peter, good
I think
to
you're
see
muted.
You. Happy Tuesday. Am I muted?
Still muted.
Oh, my goodness gracious. All right, hold on one second.
I'll cover for you for a minute. Hey, welcome to Pete and Joe for this week. Joe has gone to extreme lengths to make this show work, which is both hilarious and awesome for me. I don't know why this particular setup makes me so happy, but just the amount that went into this whole thing is great. Obviously, the Browns lost with the Minnesota Vikings in frankly, in my opinion, the most painful loss of the season. In no small part because, like, you got the script you wanted. You got you won the turnover battle 2-0. You ran the ball. Quinshon Judkins had well over 100 yards. His first.
We still good, Pete?
His first career 100-yard game of the season. And yet you still ultimately come up short. The Browns defense was certainly good, wasn't great. And you didn't get enough out of the offense. Special teams was fine. It didn't do anything, gaff worthy. But nevertheless, you come up short. And with all that, that's what makes the season. Wait a minute. Oh, they can hear you. Huh.
Hello.
I think I'm the problem.
All right, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Gentlemen in the chat, could somebody let me know? Can you guys hear me? Or am I just as inept as I usually am? Oh, okay. All right. Well, while Pete figures all this out, I'll kind of pick up where he left off. Oh, I hear you, Pete. No? That's a damn shame. Okay.
Pop out just a second. Let's see you.
All righty. Well, either way, as we're going to get into all this and break down all these aspects of everything that's going on, what a trade today. Look, I wouldn't say shocker. The Joe Flacco trade definitely caught me off guard, and it wasn't anything that I was expecting. But I feel as though the Browns almost set the table for this weekend with that Ian Rappaport report regarding Shedeur and regarding the quarterback rotation and what the plans are for Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel moving forward. And I mean, realistically, I look at this as, number one, it's a good move by the Browns. We weren't going to play Joe Flacco outside of an emergency. Dillon Gabriel's the guy for now. We've got Shedeur on deck, and the event that things with Dillon go south or fall through or anything like that. Joe really wasn't in the plans. Obviously, the weird elephant in the room is the Watson situation and the fact that Watson could somehow factor into the quarterback equation this year. But who knows how that one's going to play out. We have Bailey Zappi on the practice squad. He's likely going to be brought up, and all the rumors are that he's going to be brought up and he's going to be the number 2. And I don't have a problem with that. And guys, that's what I'm talking about with this Rappaport report. The Browns laid the groundwork for this move. They told you in Rappaport's report, Shedeur is going to play this year. He's going to get starts. They want him to have a tailor-made game plan and a full week of reps with the ones. They don't want him to be the backup. They don't want to throw him in mid-game. I can appreciate that. And I'm sure that any football people really can't. If Shador is behind, as though we've been led to believe this whole time, then for God's sakes, man, give him time and give him the cleanest possible situation to walk into. Shador's not Dylan Gabriel. He's not, 60 starts deep in multiple high-level college programs. He's not able to make his first start on the road, let alone in Europe. That was a really tough situation that a really tough kid was able to play through and rise above to a degree. Shador's not that guy, and he's not ready for it yet. So the Browns told us they were going to do this. They told us he wasn't going to be the backup. He's going to be brought along as the starter when he's ready. Pete, are you good? Yep. All right, Pete, are we good?
I was the problem. Yeah, we're good. Listen, good. The thing with Joe Flacco was a professional through and through, but he made it very clear he wants to play. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to be 40 years old and not play. And it wasn't to say he wasn't willing to help guys out. He wasn't willing to do, the stuff that would make the team better, but he wants to play. So the Browns found a way that's going to allow him to play. And, from that standpoint, it's sort of like Andrew Berry's got a track record of doing right by players. Mm-hmm. Even Odell Beckham, for reasons that I will still never understand. He did right by Odell Beckham.
Agreed.
Just got popped for PEDs. That's a real shame. Anyway, you facilitate a way for Joe Flacco to play. He gets to go to a situation where I don't know if they're going to block for him, but he's got to throw the hell out of the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, so he's going to get a shot. And the Browns, I don't know if they win, lose, or anything with this trade. They just they do right by Flacco, which is ultimately good. This is something Barry's done consistently. It's part of the reason the players like Barry seemingly more than fans do is because he does these type of things. He tries to do right by them. But at the end of the day, you still get a slight, what amounts to a processing fee of you get maybe a round and a half, since it was the Lions pick, if the Bengals suck and bottom out this year. So everybody wants to see Dylan. Nostalgia for Joe Flacco lasted 3 quarters this season, legitimately 3 quarters, and people were already done. So what's the point? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think selfishly, you can make the case that there's value in having him in your quarterback room. But we're trying to move this thing forward. We're going with Dylan Gabriel. Ownership said before the season they want to see these rookies play.
Exactly.
They made the move that makes the most sense for everybody. And, the side part of this that I don't like is it probably means we're making way to eventually activate Deshaun Watson and take care of that roster spot. Though right now Bailey Zappe's on the practice squad, and I would not be shocked. I would expect Bailey Zappe will play if God forbid they get to that point before Watson does. He might play before Shador does if, let's say, Dylan Gabriel were to go down, this week to injury or something like that. But it's a logical move for everybody. The only thing that surprises me here is the Bengals. Mm-hmm. On the one hand, you look at this and you say, Zach Taylor is making a move because Jake Browning seemingly had an out-of-body meltdown in the first half of that game against the Lions, and it wasn't working there. My only question is, why Flacco? Why, other than he can throw the ball pretty far, I guess I'm a little surprised that they didn't go for a bigger name, a younger name that could maybe do a little staying power. It seems like the Bengals want to win football games. Albert Breer, I don't know if it's Albert Breer and Ian Rappaport. We're talking about this in terms of playoffs. From that to me, I don't know if that's realistic, but hey, that's not my problem.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would like to think that the Browns wanted to do good and do well by Joe Flacco and get Flacco on the field again. Wasn't going to happen in Cleveland. B, Cincinnati is the only goddamn team that is taking care of Jacksonville. Okay. We can give them something. Everybody else is pissing down their leg and handing these. Either way, I don't want to get carried away. I'm injured. I'm angry. It's raining.
Watching the game.
I don't want to be too negative. So anyways, let's talk about Watson real quick. Okay. Because I don't think anybody wants to see this guy on the field, but realistically, Pete, it's probably going to happen. No, if he gets activated, I mean, is there a way to keep him off the field?
Yeah, he will never. I just don't think he'll ever play.
Yeah. I could be dead wrong.
I think the second Deshaun Watson hits the field, everybody's fired. And it's the soul sucking vampiric nature that he brings with him.
Yeah.
To everything.
Yeah.
I think watching him play last year, watching his teammates respond to him last year, it was just they withered and died around him. Say what you will, Joe Flacco didn't play well the start of the season. Like guys were trying, guys wanted to go out there. Like there was a sense of defeat with Deshaun Watson that was just it was palpable. He just sucked the life out of everything, and the fan base will absolutely like. There are some of the fan base who are already talking themselves into it, but overall, I think the second he hits the field, people are going to tune out.
Well, they absolutely are. The fan base is 2,000% going to tune out. I mean, and my whole thing with Watson seeing the field is I'm with you. You saw last year, the second a different quarterback entered the fray, the team was different. They had a different air about him, a different energy about him. And especially when Jameis came in, they looked like two completely different teams. And that's just one position, one guy. So it's like, but there's a national perspective. I heard listening on the afternoon drive today, I heard Albert Breer literally saying it's hard to imagine Deshaun's not the best option right now. And,
I can imagine
the only one. Yeah, right. And he said he's the only one that has proven to be able to play at a high level in the NFL. How the hell could you even say that if you've watched the last 2-3 years?
Watching last year, he would drop back, look at his first read, then immediately drop his eyes, and then try to run. He was slow. He was unathletic, and then just run into sacks. There are so many things you found out about what happened last year. Deshaun Watson was, what you saw in the third preseason game from Shedeur Sanders in terms of failing to be where he was supposed to be in the pocket. That was every week with Deshaun Watson. Don't get me wrong. The offensive line didn't perform well. He absolutely made them worse. He absolutely screwed them over and over and over again. And that was the difference. Like you saw when Jameis Winston came in, were they great? Obviously not, but it was a huge difference for them. And it allowed them to actually operate the offense and do the things like Joe Flacco, same thing. Like Joe Flacco's problem was he was holding on to the ball too long and not making decisions, but he wasn't actually going the wrong places in terms of the protection. And this was for an offense that Deshaun Watson specifically requested to be built around him. That's the problem. So not only is Deshaun Watson not going to be in the offense that he handpicked, it's going to be an offense he's not necessarily comfortable. They're not going to change it for him now and say, hey, we're going to run, duo scheme RPOs for you that you couldn't run last year. There's just nothing there. Like I said, I've said this before. I think Bailey Zappi will play. I think DTR would sign back and play before. I think they will put anyone out there before that. Now, ultimately, I hope it doesn't get to that point. And based on what I saw Sunday, short of injury, and hopefully that doesn't happen, it shouldn't. Dylan Gabriel, on one hand, wildly overperformed what I thought he was going to do, and then at the same time was frustrating because there were plays I felt like the offense left on the field, and I guess in one way that's exactly what I want, that he was so good initially, at least in terms of he looked like an NFL quarterback. Mm-hmm. He did not look confused. His eyes were where they're supposed to, against a Brian Flores coordinated offense, which is a giant pain.
Oh yeah.
There was one pass that I can recall where it was Josh Metellus got his hands on one ball. Other than that, the ball was never in danger. Now, some of that was scheme. Mm-hmm. Some of that was trying to put him in the right positions. Great. I want my coach to do that anyway, but it never felt it was never felt too big for him. And he also got out of plays that weren't there. Yeah. Most notably, red zone, second down in the third quarter, play's not there. He throws it out the back of the end zone. They come back the next play. He hits David Njoku for a touchdown.
Which was a great throw, great read.
Right. And it's very easy to cherry pick this and go, yes, this is a good process. But ultimately, I don't want him, at least not right this second, especially with KT Leviston not blocking anybody, or Wyatt Teller, who struggled on that game, then trying to like extend the play and make things happen in his first ever start. I want him to get to a point where he can find that out. Right now, it's all about making the right decisions, making quick processing decisions. He did all those things. And it also allowed him to make a few really nice plays. Like, I thought the Minnesota Vikings were completely flat-footed on the touchdown to Harold Fanta. I think they had no idea that was coming. I think everybody in the stadium thought it was going to be a handoff.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I thought early in the game, the ball wasn't coming out of his hand confidently. I felt like he was overthrowing a little bit, and it came out sort of sloppy. But the throw that sort of, I thought, put Dylan Gabriel into that zone where he got comfortable was the third down throw to the right to Jerry Jeudy, where he just put it right on him, and they came right back and hit David Njoku in that ball.
Yeah, in the corner. That was a great throw.
And that point of the game, I was like, okay, this kid's like, he's comfortable, he's ready to go. I wish they would have done more with that drive. Like that same drive is when they ended up kicking the field goal. Second down, they had what to me looked like David Njoku one-on-one with a corner. I was sitting there hoping they'd throw it up to him in some form or fashion. Obviously, they didn't. Jerome Ford gets no yards. They end up kicking the field goal. They came back and got David Njoku later, obviously, for the touchdown. But, you know, I'm hoping that we're going to see this carry over, the Njoku element. I was thrilled to see him utilizing the offense beyond manufactured touches.
Finally, right?
And then the other part of that is just letting Dylan Gabriel get more comfortable. And I think with that, with some of the things that hopefully Cam Robinson's going to be ready to go, with some of the other things they're doing, like, I don't want to get too far out in terms of being like Dylan Gabriel is going to be great or anything.
Yeah.
But I think he can at least function in offense. And I have reason to believe this offense can get better.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. And you nailed it. The operation standpoint from Gabriel was fantastic. He looked like a vet. He was in control. He didn't look rattled at the line. He made good reads for the most part. He didn't put the ball in danger. And honestly, even the play that Metellus made across the middle, it was Njoku was coming across the middle. It was a good throw. It was a great play. You know, there's certain things that you just really can't work around. My biggest concern with Dylan Gabriel is that I felt anytime he had to go really any sort of deep hash throw or anything really downfield, he was inaccurate. He was high. And for the most part, he wasn't that close. We've watched a lot of football, and you know when guys are like, oh, they're just a half step behind. They're going to get it clicking. They're going to do this. I didn't feel like anything was really close downfield. That was my only discouraging part of that. The throw in the corner to Njoku in the red zone was fantastic. Yeah. The Jerry Jeudy drop on third down was a damn good throw and something of a muddied pocket. It was a good enough throw. He should have caught it.
I agree with you. Should have caught it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's pinpoint.
Wanted a little more juice on that throw.
Yeah,
I get you. Look, I think part of what Dylan Gabriel reveals, and I think if you sort of put it together with what we saw from Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel's throwing where guys are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now, did he miss high in a couple of those? Yeah, but I do think there's a couple of those where Dylan Gabriel's throwing where some receiver's supposed to be and isn't. And I think that might be an indication of why Joe Flacco wasn't throwing some of the passes, because he couldn't trust guys to be there. Yeah. Now, what I think this will do, or at least think/hope, Dylan Gabriel's going to throw the ball to where it's supposed to go. So either you're going to get there or you're going to get exposed. On the one hand, that's going to hold some guys accountable. On the other hand, that should get Jerry Jeudy very excited, because Jerry Jeudy, one, is infinitely better when the ball is on time, when he expects it to get it. I mean, just thinking about the last two seasons, when the ball is where it's supposed to be on time, he's very, very good. It's weirdly, when it's like off schedule, it just mind screws him in terms of like, it's weirdly out of sync for him.
That's when you see
they have not been good.
Errors.
They have not been good at sort of, scramble drill or play breaks down and do that stuff. It's always been balls here. It's where it's supposed to be. I catch and go. And Dylan Gabriel should encourage that. I do think, I think Isaiah Bond's lack of route running is part of the problem. Like, he was terrible at this at two collegiate programs. It's going to take him time to figure this part out. And this is sort of the pitfalls of a guy who missed all of training camp, These were not strengths anyway. And that part of it. Now that's where I'm hoping that like we see the element with Njoku. We see what hopefully we're going to see more Harold Fannin, but I'm hoping
we saw a lot of Jamari Thrash on Sunday too. He got a lot of reps. He ran a lot.
Which reminds me, like, we can get into some of this. Like, I love the last play of the game. I know some people are mad that they didn't get a Hail Mary or whatever. I give all the credit to the Vikings defender, Jeff Okudah, making the tackle to prevent him from getting out of bounds. Dylan Gabriel hit him in the exact right spot. They had the design set up, and they were ready to get a shorter porch on that next play. It didn't work, but I have no problem with that play. But I mean, these are all the things.
I don't either.
With this element of this, where what did we see from Jamari Thrash in the preseason? Balls on time, he catches and goes. So I'm hoping that all these sort of elements are going to come together, and I don't think it's going to happen immediately. I think it's going to take time. But in talking to Lane in other shows and stuff like that, Dylan Gabriel's not afraid to get in guys' faces and hold them accountable. I think all of these things can be good. It's going to get things sorted out. But like if you're a receiver who does their job, I think you get excited about this because now you know the ball's going to come and you have reason to go hard for it. Whereas I think guys at times rightly, and Joe could not trust guys enough. Yeah, which I think is a failure on every the collective's part, where there were balls that were late that should have been out faster, or Joe didn't throw passes because guys weren't in the right spot. I'm hoping that this is a move that gets that sort of fixed, and the ball's going to come out, and guys are going to expect it to be there, or they're going to sort of have to move on.
Well, yeah, and like you alluded to, getting Cam Robinson caught up, and then having to help the Conklin at right tackle will hopefully at least patch the lineup a little bit.
Jack Conklin was very good in one game, so I mean,
well, it's just it's about availability, though. That's the only issue.
The difference, 1,000%, but the difference was clear.
Yeah, agreed. Well, let's scoot over to running backs real quick after quarterbacks. Before we do, be sure to check out Browns 3D weekdays 6 p.m. with Jeff Lloyd. It's hard hitting action with Jeff. He's a one-man show. He's fantastic. It's a great place to get a phenomenal perspective and get all the Browns information that you want. That's Browns 3D with Jeff Lloyd, 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, weekdays. All right, Pete, we got to talk about Quinshon Judkins because every single week that is without question the highlight of the offense, and he gets better and better and better. And this is a completely different game if we don't get tagged with those two holdings on that 50-plus yard touchdown run.
Well, to be fair, the 50-yard touchdown run happens because Harold Fannin held and Isaiah Bond held. Like,
I'm not sure why that's relevant, Pete, but okay.
Yes,
that's fine.
Harold Fannin didn't get to where he's supposed to be fast enough and ended up having to grab on. That's whatever. But yeah, look, he blows me. I'm blown away by what I see from Quinshon Judkins. He's averaging 4.15 yards per carry after contact. Look, I'm getting to a point now where I can see the big runs happen as they're happening in terms of finding the seam, in terms of him understanding where he's going to figure out where the hole is. And then the other part is the surprise runs where he just runs through guys and takes them with him. Like he is so easy to enjoy watching him play because he's so physical. There's only one play I can think of where he didn't get more yardage than I expected. It was the 3rd and 1 play in their end where he got stopped short. But then on the other end of the field, like Byron Murphy tried to low bridge him, and he went lower than Byron Murphy and just ran him over. Like there's that element. And then now, he only had one catch, but it was for 18 yards. He's really fluid in terms of his hands and his hips in the passing game. And I think we're going to see more of that. And that, the stretch play action thing with no mesh that absolutely still works every time. Those plays are great. He's an easy player to use that with. And the thing that stands out the most with Quinshon Judkins, when he has space, when he finds us, he's going to absolutely thrive and take full advantage. His speed, his acceleration, all those things, the physical tools he has are fantastic. And, Ashton Genty's certainly starting to figure things out. he looks great, but it's really just difficult to argue that Quinshon Judkins isn't the best running back in the class right now. And for a guy who missed so much time, he's getting better and better because he's with more experience, with more exposure.
Yeah, I would say not even just the best. He's been the most impressive rookie offensive player I've seen. And he's doing it with zero training camp. He showed up midway through the first week of the season. Like it's pretty unbelievable. And especially when you factor in how little we've gotten from the passing game and how little we've gotten from the running game when it hasn't been Quinshon. It's really impressive. Like the numbers are pretty staggering and the early returns are fantastic. And I mean, if you can think about, obviously, like Gabriel had a good enough audition. I would say it was more encouraging than discouraging, right? So we're at least moving in the right direction with that. Look at the youth on this offense, dude. If they can figure out tackle, if Gabriel can be a guy just that they feel comfortable enough going into next season with, that's such a monumental win. And the arrow's pointed straight up. These kids are only going to get better the more reps that they get.
Not only that, like I agree with all that. And it's clear the Browns want to get Dylan Sampson involved.
Yeah.
He was clearly part of the script. They created opportunities for him. I do think Jack Conklin being available made that easier, but I also think just being in the script made that easier to do.
Yeah.
But they used him on that double fake screen. They tried to create some situations. I'm thrilled they used both backs on the field at the same time. That's part of what makes me believe that the Browns are getting to this mindset. If X isn't working, we're moving on to Y or whatever it is. I think I'm hoping that's an indication of that it's sort of like we're going with what works, what we can get guys to do effectively, reliably, things we can trust. And yes, I think Dylan Sampson's going to continue to be utilized and just finding ways to do that. With the Dylan Gabriel thing and I think Cam Robinson, if he can just be functional at left tackle, I think it's going to open up a whole world of options for this because I think some of the conservative play calling they got in the end of the game was partly because he's a rookie, partly because they can't trust everybody right now, and partly because I don't know that they thought they could roll left.
Yeah.
And you have a left-handed quarterback. It's great Jack Conklin's your blind side in that scenario. But like when you are getting that little from your left tackle, there's the possibility that like you try to roll left, he gets crushed in the backfield. He takes a huge loss or fumbles or something else. And I can't help but think that might have had something to do with it. But KT Leviston was just getting so frustrated and so beat up that limited what they could do. So I'm hoping that we're going to stabilize that element, have a two-way go so Gabriel can go to both sides effectively, feel good about it, and it can open up some more things. And again, if they have pass protection, and look, I think Jerome Ford played well for what they needed him to do, but I think that frees them up to not need Jerome Ford as much because Jerome Ford is clearly their best pass protector when they need that.
So before we jump over to wide receivers, I would love to bring something up because this has been, quite frankly, it's kind of been pissing me off. And there's this narrative that Kevin Stefanski was just outcoached, outclassed, just like taught a lesson by Kevin O'Connell on Sunday. And it genuinely, number one, I don't agree with it. It genuinely pisses me off. I feel like, and I would love for you to just like give me your thoughts on this because I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. You've got Kevin Stefanski. Like, look, both teams have good defenses, right? Both teams have good defensive coordinators that are well respected. They are not easy plays for any offense, right? Both offense had injuries on the offensive line. Both offenses had backup quarterbacks, okay? But the difference for me is that you've got one quarterback as a 10-year veteran who's played a ton of football and practiced day in and day out for the bulk of his career against the Browns defensive coordinator, knows the tendencies, knows the defense, knows the scheme, and he's executing this offense by Kevin O'Connell with 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers and a Pro Bowl tight end. Like, how the hell? This isn't apples to apples. Like, am I wrong on that? I know Kevin O'Connell's a great coach, but I don't look at Sunday and be like, oh, Jesus, if we had anybody but Stefanski, we would have been okay. Like, am I crazy for that?
No, that part of it, I absolutely agree with you. There are people who seem to think that, like, there are so many coaches that can come up here and perform alchemy and turn lead into gold at certain positions. I'll say this. Kevin O'Connell was fantastic.
He always is. Yeah.
Fantastic in what he was able to do to limit his weaknesses with the backup offensive lineman, the scheme they came up with, the quick hitting traps inside were really good. They got the ball out of Carson Wentz's hand quite a bit. They did a lot of things to frustrate Myles Garrett. And then ultimately, you have the receivers that if you could take care of business enough, they're going to eventually beat man coverage. Justin Jefferson is arguably the best in the league. Jordan Addison, even after his quarter of seemingly being punished, he's fantastic in terms of beating man coverage. You're eventually going to get beat. Kevin Stefanski for the first half was just as good. I thought the plan to deal with the defense, to deal with Brian Flores, to put Dylan Gabriel in a comfort zone, to find things that work was really good. I love the fact that they loaded up. They borrowed from what the Steelers did the week before. They said, screw it. We're going to put 7 men on the line of scrimmage. We're going to run it, try and stop us. They found a lot of success with that. And ultimately they ended up scoring scoring points, getting the early touchdown, coming back with the field goal in the first half. And I think even in the third quarter, Kevin Stefanski was great. After that, I think Kevin Stefanski was – I think Kevin O'Connell sort of pulled away, and Kevin Stefanski had some problems. Obviously, I don't like how they handled the last drive before Minnesota took the lead. I think the clock – I don't think the clock was ever a factor. Yeah. There were 3:30 or whatever it was in the game, and it's on one hand, I sort of understand it because the drive before people were complaining that the Browns didn't give the ball to Quinshon Judkins, who had been doing really well or enough. Yeah. And then he tries to do that exact thing. But after the first down, I had no problem with. After all, even against loaded boxes, Quinshon Judkins was just finding yardage. Yeah. Second down, and I don't know the answer to this. I wish that there was a check for Dylan Gabriel to get to something else that maybe would have allowed them to go a different direction. And maybe he had one, he just didn't take it. I don't know the answer to that. But given that situation, moving the change was infinitely more important than the clock at that point. I don't think the clock was ever a factor, even when the Vikings had the ball late. It just didn't matter. The only time it mattered was when the Browns needed time at the end. Up until that point, the Vikings didn't care. The reason that drive frustrated me is the drive before that, I felt like the Browns threw their best last punch. It didn't land. And that was sort of where they whether he got too safe or felt like that was their best shot or whatever. I don't know. The drive before, KT Levinson immediately gets a holding penalty. Yeah. The Browns go with a pass to David Njoku. He picks up 11 yards, and Quinshon Judkins runs a 14. You're like, okay, they bailed themselves out. The next play is when Dylan Gabriel rolls to his right, and he misses high to that pass to David Njoku, who had all kinds of room to run. And that, to me, in that moment, felt like their best last swing. Yeah. They had it all set up the way they wanted. And if they complete that play, maybe that's the difference in the game. So, to Kevin Stefanski's credit, he had the exact play they needed to win, to potentially win the game. Gabriel is immediately pissed at himself. You saw it in the field. He used colorful language to describe his feelings on the matter. And it just felt like in that moment, that was their best swing. And then I think Kevin Stefanski got too safe. The other thing I didn't like on that last drive before the Vikings did the third down call, they get an empty. As they're lining up on the line of scrimmage, I'm just thinking in my head, please tell me you're going to motion back to the backfield. Please tell me you're going to motion back to the backfield. Make them think, at least consider the possibility that you might try to make them use that last time out. And hell, maybe that would have been a situation to use that stretch non-play action thing and just throw the ball to Judkins out there. But either way, at least force them to make an honest consideration to a run read, and maybe that opens it up. just in general practice, I don't like empty for rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But the thing I don't know is Kevin Stefanski in the postgame press conference seemed to think he liked the look he had. And obviously, whether it was a missed route or whatever, the ball sailed high or thrown away, however you want to describe it, they didn't get it. So that's where I think Kevin O'Connell sort of took the torch and ultimately won it. But so in that sense, you can certainly criticize, and I think fairly, that Kevin Stefanski sort of blew it late.
Yeah.
But for the 3 quarters before that, he was great. Now, and the problem is nobody's going to care.
Yeah.
Because of the fourth quarter. But I agree with you, for 3 quarters against that defense with a rookie quarterback, with all the issues they had, KT Levinson at left tackle, Wyatt Teller not playing well at right guard.
Yeah.
I loved what they did with the offense. I thought it was tremendous. Obviously, they needed more than that.
No, of course. But I mean, and that's the crux of my point, is that it comes down to the fact that, like, look, I mean, we talked about it last week. I was ready for the defense to absolutely feast. I was ready for them to beat Carson Wentz from pillar to post all game long. Not only did we knock him out of the game in the first half, dude played through whatever he played through and played a phenomenal second half. He really played well. He made some dead to nuts throws. The touchdown at the end of the game going at Denzel Ward. I mean, that's a ballsy play. That was a great play and a great throw. And Denzel was like, he was off. He was trying to bait. He was trying to bait into a pick, and he just threw an indefensible ball. Like, that to me is the difference in this coach. I think both coaches did a good job. It's one of them had the quarterback execute. You know, I don't know. Either way.
Yeah, look, I mean, one score game, and I think the Vikings had the advantage in talent. But like, had that gone either way, nobody would have been surprised. But
yeah.
So obviously that's the difference, and that's why, we get to a bottom line business and people don't care except for the final score. But yeah, I think process matters. I think, again, Kevin Stefanski was great for 3 quarters. Last quarter, not so good. And I think both defensive coordinators were, I don't want to say mediocre, but I don't know that either one had a great plan.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back into our little positional breakdown. So let's talk wide receivers. Now, first 2 games without Cedric Tillman have been a little lean. Like, we haven't gotten a ton of passing game going anyway. Jerry Jeudy showed a little bit of life here and there, but the big drop on 3rd down again. Saw a little bit of Jamari Thrash. We didn't see much of Isaiah Bond, or at least he didn't make the plays that he's, started making. What do you think about the wideouts?
Well, some of this is baked into the fact that Kevin Stefanski basically admitted that wasn't a huge part of the game plan. Some of that comes down to how he viewed his own situation. Some of that was the Vikings legitimately wanted to take Jerry Jeudy away. I was surprised at how much they shaded safety help over to him and sort of just let everybody else sort of do their own thing. And that played a role in why David Njoku was singled up so much, and they took advantage. They made it a point to not let Jerry Jeudy go. They wanted to take him away and probably may have come out of it. If Jerry Jeudy got frustrated or whatever, and sort of the Vikings may have just said, okay, we've done what we wanted to do and moved on. There is definitely an element where the wide receivers aren't where they need to be, but I also think some of that is the idea that because of how Brian Flores plays, because of the amount of trap coverages he plays, they didn't want to put Dylan Gabriel in too many situations where they might jump one and take it to the house. Like Isaiah Rodgers, getting a pick 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
They can't afford it. So that's part of it. And then the other part of it is their tight ends are really good. So use them. But, obviously going forward, they're going to need more. They're going to need to get more, more contributions. The one thing I did find interesting and surprising in some ways, I saw more Malachi Corley in that game than I thought I'd see all season.
Yep. And within the offense too, not even special teams.
Yes. Like obviously they ran what jet sweep, but he was out there quite a bit.
He was.
Seemingly to try to get them to a point where they'd be lulled to sleep and it wasn't, hey, this guy's coming in and we're giving him the ball.
Yeah.
but he does offer size. He offers physicality, which, given what they were doing with the running game, certainly makes sense. Cedric Tillman has been a consistently willing, and he throws his body around as a blocker quite a bit. So I'm sure Corley was being tasked with some of that. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, one, every game they need to find a way to get Jerry Jeudy going. They need to get more development out of these guys, the rest of these young guys. I already mentioned the issues sort of with Isaiah Bond. I want to continue to get opportunities for Jamari Thrash. Obviously, I want Tillman back when he's healthy. But again, my hope is that Dylan Gabriel, over the course of practice, is going to get these receivers to understand where they need to be, and that if they get where they need to be, the ball's going to be there, and they're going to get a chance to make plays.
Yeah. Well, also, the upcoming opponents and the softening of the schedule will help that as these kids get more comfortable and everything gets a little better flow under Gabriel. The schedule's going to lighten up too, so we should see more. Let's talk about Jerry Jeudy real quick, because I keep seeing it. I mean, I just saw it in the chat over here, and I don't disagree with it. It's the Browns don't have a wide receiver one. Jerry Judy's not a wide receiver one. And I know that. I feel like you know that. I feel like everybody. I feel like the Browns know that, and they tell you that. The Browns have tried to trade for Brandon Ayuk. They've been in the receiver market. They've thrown around potential draft picks and big contracts. They're only paying Jerry Jeudy, what, like $17 a year? Mm-hmm. That's wide receiver 2 money. It's just like I get the frustration, and I would love to see them be better at receiver, but I think the plan is to get better at receiver when they can. It's just with the Watson stuff, you've got one arm tied behind your back trying to construct the rest of the roster, and you can only fill so many holes. So I get the frustration with Jeudy, and I want him to be better, and I think he can be better if he gets more consistent quarterback play. But I also I'm not mad at the Browns, because they're not. He's not a number one, and they tell you he's not. They don't pay him to be. He's just the best that we have.
He can be when he wants to be, and that's sort of the frustration you have. I think that's the part. Last year, he showed you he has that in him. But ultimately, I agree with you. I think whether it's getting, what do you want to say? He's the sort of low end 1 or high end 2. You want to get a high end 1. I mean, that's just that's the deal. You want to get a dude that's going to lock down that and anchor that position. Especially, not that I'm in any hurry to run David Njoku off, but eventually he's going to not be here anymore. Yeah. So they're going to have to be able to transition to something else. They've spent so many resources now on the defensive side of the ball. It's come due on offense. They're going to have to go big there, and they're going to have to sort of figure that element out. So we'll see how that looks. Obviously, if Dylan Gabriel, if they are somehow, some way not forced to be looking at quarterbacks this year, it opens up a whole different world for them. There's a lot of fun receivers in this draft class, even though this was not supposed to be. Everybody's looking at, let's even say the Browns are. Let's say the Browns are waiting for 2027, the year that all these guys are going to be in. This going to be the historic wide receiver class.
Jeremiah, Ryan Williams. That's some good ones, Pete.
the kid from Auburn, who's just an absolute freak show. There's just a ton of these guys. Wingo from Texas, all these. There's a hell of a lot of guys right now. Hell, Jordan Tyson, his brother's playing for the Cavs. I guess he's ripping it up tonight. Yeah. I mean, he's a good option. I love Mekhi Lemon from USC. I like the element he brings, but there's a lot of guys. I'm fascinated by what the Brazil from Tennessee, just because of the size and the athleticism. The Ohio State guys everybody's going to, particularly after this week, you're going to talk up that ability that he's, another tall receiver with excellent body control. So we'll see where that sort of ends up, but obviously they need more. The Browns have, to your point, they've made it very clear they want more guys. Ayuk was certainly a consideration. They've talked to other teams before this season about potential trades. They want talent. They want as many of these guys as they get. They're not sitting here going, well, wide receiver solved and moving, we're good. Obviously not. I mean, even just bringing in Malachi Corley, Isaiah Bond, these guys are There's swings, there are opportunities. I don't think anybody's looking at these guys as a solution. I'm impressed by what I see in terms of what Isaiah Bond can offer. I still think he's at best a third or fourth receiver in your offense. He could be a hell of a third or fourth option because of his speed and the things he can do. But that's the dream. Like if he can be 3 or 4, what does that say about the rest of the room? And if if you can find that guy that moves Jerry Jeudy to a firm 2 and Cedric Tillman's a 3 and Isaiah Bond's a 4, and you've got those, okay, now we're talking. Plus you've got Harold Fannin. Like, sign me up for that. But the Browns are absolutely not done. And that, who knows, that, we'll see how this shakes out. There may still yet be an opportunity this season if things get weird and teams start trying to sell off parts or whatever.
Well, let's shuffle over to tight ends real quick. We've been talking about Fadden and Njoku off and on. So I've got thoughts on Njoku because I feel like you're starting to hear a little bit like, oh, he's lost a step. He looks slow. He looks plodding, this and that. I feel like that's always been Njoku. He's not twitchy. He's not a quick-footed guy. He's always been a strider. He's always been a build-up momentum guy. I mean, am I wrong with that? Like, he just never struck me as quick.
He's linear. There's unquestionably he's a linear player. So he plays in straight lines.
Yeah.
He's either going to play like a power forward, which sign me up, or he's going to go in straight lines. Even the touchdown he caught was essentially a straight line. He caught a corner route. He went up in a high point. I was encouraged by what I've seen. I mean, I think some of it's just opportunities and finding ways to scheme it up. And if the Browns can get more consistent in terms of particularly the running game and get a little bit more with Dylan Gabriel able to throw the pill around a little bit, then it's going to force teams to start making choices on how they defend guys. In this case, Minnesota seemingly wanted to make sure Jerry Jeudy didn't take over the game. So the Browns pivoted, went to David Njoku. Sign me up for that. Like, this is what I want to see is I want to see them start to pivot to this and take what the defense gives them and put pressure on them in different ways. But it starts with, you got to get completions going. You got to be able to start moving the offense. And, Dylan Gabriel at least showed me that was a possibility with him. Yeah. I'd like to think, I'm not going to sit here and go, well, I guarantee he's going to go into Pittsburgh and be even better. But at least that I've seen a path where that can happen. So hopefully that's going to be where this thing goes.
Yeah. And Fannin had a quiet game, but I mean, that's the thing. It was the first game with Gabriel. Gabriel went more to Njoku, whereas I felt like Flacco was almost falling back to Fannin in most cases. So you're going to see stuff like that based on quarterback preference.
And then the other part of that is you're using Fannin a lot in the backfield.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I think that's fine. I think they're doing some interesting concepts that allow both Fannin to set up the run and then allow Judkins to make plays with his vision. But I think in a perfect world, the Browns are going to have 5 guys up front they really like and maybe Njoku on the end plowing forward. And then that's going to potentially allow a guy like Fannin to get back out in the slot or do some other things like that. And maybe we're going to get to a point where we start seeing, sort of quote unquote fullback style passing game stuff where, it looks like run and it ends up just being a way to get him the ball in the flat or something. These are things that you're going to have to build towards. But I do think there's an element where, look, they're always going to try to get Fannin involved in the passing game. But I do think when you load him up in the way you're loading it, it's sort of, there's only so much you can do with him at any one point. So I'm hoping they find a balance where, yes, he can do those things. We can do short yardage stuff, but also get him back out in the slot, allow him to do stuff in space and create matchup problems and force the defense to have to make a choice. How do we want to deal with him in a given play? Who's the guy we're going to put to cover him? So against like the Pittsburgh Steelers, if David Njoku is at the Y and you've got Fannin out there as an F, who's covering who? Those are the choices I want the offense to put the defense into.
All right. Well, so we made the trade a week ago to bring in Cam Robinson, the fortified left tackle, and he wasn't quite ready for the London game, which, I mean, who can blame him? It was a weird, funky week anyway. Yep. So hopefully he's going to be all caught up and full speed, ready to go against Pittsburgh. I can't imagine it's going to be a drastic difference on the line. It's just going to be a little bit cleaner at left tackle, right? Like, I mean, he's not going to block out the sun, but he's a good player, and it should just at least fortify and like clean up mistakes.
The biggest thing for Cam Robinson, and I think KT Levinston was trying to do this to the point where it's actually detrimental. KT Levinston overemphasized his inside gap in this game and then was slow to get outside. And I think the reason for that was Dillon Gabriel's short and Dillon Gabriel is left-handed. And if you get immediate pressure in his face, he's in a world of hurt.
Yep.
So I think KT Levinston was trying to ensure that nobody ever went inside to block Dillon Gabriel's vision to that side, and then was trying to then step out and go with the pass rush. He's obviously not there yet in terms of footwork, making that transition and reading what he can do. Hopefully Cam Robinson is. The other thing this then does is now KT Levinston, whatever you want to say about him as the pass protector, it's awful.
Yep.
I don't blame him.
He's a mean run
blocker. I love the idea of a jumbo tight end.
Yep.
And putting him on the line. But yeah, I mean, it's just being in a situation where you can play with 5 guys up front in pass protection and not feel like you're immediately screwed at one of them is going to be important. It's important if it allows situations for Dillon Gabriel to roll out to his left. I don't know how realistic that's going to be this week with Nick Herbig on that side.
Yeah. But
nevertheless, like you just need somebody that you feel like is going to at least give you, Dillon Gabriel to his, I think his time to throw is something like 2.44.
It was.
He doesn't need a ton of it. No. So at the very least, Cam Robinson can do that. He's 6'6", 335. Like, he's a huge man and he has talent. It's just consistency with him. So I think they'll be okay. Hopefully lines up appropriately on the line of scrimmage. That would be helpful. But I do think it's going to make a big difference. And it doesn't mean he's going to be a great tackle. I just think it was that bad for what they were doing, other than when they were running. And even in that capacity, KT Levinston struggled this week. That was the biggest problem with him, is you knew what you were getting from him in pass protection. The problem is he was also not good in the run game this past week.
Yeah, and you factor in the penalties and stuff like that. It's one thing for you to be a liability in the play, but when you're pinning the offense back 5 and 10 yards at a time, it's tough to justify even being on the field. Were you a little surprised that Cornelius Lucas was inactive? Yes. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, and was that a health thing, or was that just
I don't know, but I sort of understood the idea of playing KT Levinston at left tackle, in the idea that you were going to do 7-man on the line of scrimmage and pound the football. Like, I got that. Then when they sort of toyed with Cam Robinson for a minute, it felt like we're going to like almost get a situational tackle, depending on what they were trying to do. But yeah, I was genuinely stunned that Cornelius Lucas wasn't starting. So I don't know if there was something else there, if it was health unexpectedly or just the decision they made. It's one I at least have questions about, in terms of why did they go that route? Why, even if you weren't going to have if Cam Robinson wasn't ready, why not have Lucas as the backup? So that makes me wonder if there was something else going on.
Yeah. How about because we see it week after week that Zach Center is inactive on game days, this, that, and the other. Do you think this is a talent issue, or I'm at least hoping it's a versatility issue? He's a guard. You got Whippler. Whippler can play center and guard. You've got Jenkins. He can play guard and tackle. Like, it's just kind of like the more you can do thing, right? Or do you think there are some issues with Zinter?
I think there are issues with Zinter.
Mm-hmm.
I also think he's just not as good as Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah.
Zach Zinter has at least worked at center a little bit.
Okay.
I honestly thought he was going to be their third guy every week, in case of emergency guy. And they clearly are comfortable without him doing that. So him being inactive is not a talent issue. He's just behind what is a better guard in Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah.
But there is a talent issue. Like, it's both.
Yeah.
He's not – look, and part of this is he was drafted to play in a scheme they aren't running anymore.
Yeah.
They drafted him playing a duo gap scheme, and he had limited, lateral agility. And then you go back to the zone game, which asks you to have lateral agility.
Yeah.
So there's a genuine question if he's going to be able to do that. Is there a world where maybe the Browns trade him at some point to another team that does stuff that more suit his skill set? Perhaps. Is there a world where maybe he's just a center? Maybe. I don't know that there's a way to sort of. I mean, obviously I hope he gets better, and there's time for him to do that. I just, when the Browns drafted him, I thought he was going to be a right guard only.
Yeah.
Which isn't a great place to start. And then, the issues, the scheme change was just really bad for him. I didn't love the pick in the first place, having a dude with a broken leg. But yeah, I'm not real optimistic on that one.
All right. Well, let's just dive across the other side of the ball now. Let's go defense. We can both agree we expected way more from the defensive line, but we can also probably tell that they schemed the hell out of our defense. They had us basically going way more sideways than we're used to. We want to go upfield, we want to attack, and they kind of put us on roller skates. So why don't you talk about the D-line real quick?
So they did a couple things that put the Browns on their heels. The quick trap game inside was really fast, and then they did some stuff to sort of stretch the defense horizontally. Whether you want to blame it on going to London or whatever else, I thought this was the worst game for the defensive tackle position this season.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Collins was great as a pass rusher. He had two sacks. That stuff was fine. I thought everybody else, and Malik Collins gave you not much in the run game. I thought everybody else had real trouble in this one. And I say that about Mason Graham, even though and I say this as the worst game of his young career. There is one series where he went run, stop, QB pressure, forced incompletion, draws holding penalty. But I think overall, this was the game that gave him a lot of trouble. I agree with you. I thought they would be better. Aiden Huntington did not play well. I don't think Shelby Harris played well. And it was problematic, and it hurt the linebackers, who I think also had their worst game of the season.
Yeah.
And part of that is because of the things that the Vikings were doing to trying to keep them off guard, hitting them with quick hitters up the middle with trap and some of those other things, and allowing the line to immediately go and hit them at different angles, and then hitting them with that perimeter stuff. I think stretched those guys in ways they have not been stretched because they've been so dominant at the line of scrimmage that they can sort of shrink the field of play and take away some of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, now in some fairness to Mason Graham, the one guy who was never out was Will Freeze.
Yeah.
But overall, like I said, I think defensive tackle struggled. I think we got some positive plays, even though, look, I know if the PFF grades were out of this world for Isaiah McGuire and Alex Wright. I thought they were inconsistent in the game over from snap to snap. They had the 2 punch outs, which is great. And frankly, I think the Alex Wright punch out may have saved them from a drive that was going to go the distance potentially. In that sense, just from an overall defensive standpoint, I felt like the Browns were like everybody else, like trying to hang on, trying to get the opponent to make mistakes, and then trying to come up with a turnover to sort of stop the drive, as opposed to the Browns, who like to operate in a world where they just go, you get no yards and you get to punt in 3 downs.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't bad by any stretch, but it did feel like they had to really work to get those things. And that particular turnover felt needed in the moment to really slow down their momentum.
Yeah, and that was one of the frustrating things. It's like, if we didn't get to Wentz and affect the play, we weren't able to stop their passing game. Like, he was
right.
just he was playing well. He was hitting open guys. So we heard about Miles' ankle late in the week, and then it was like, no big deal. He's fine, yada, yada, yada. But like, it's hard to not correlate that with the first game where it's like, well, Miles doesn't look like Miles.
Yes. However, I mean, look, Christian Darrisaw's fantastic.
Yeah,
and
no,
they
of
put
course.
TJ Hawkinson over there.
Mm-hmm.
What annoys you is that Justin School's on the other side. Why isn't Miles doing that more? And it just how much of that is Miles gets to decide seems to be quite a bit. But like, I wish there were more plays where he just said, screw it, I'm going to go over there. Now, the thing that I can't defend is Darrisaw was out for the end of the game. They were down to School at left tackle and Rouse at right tackle, and obviously they kept helping. Mm-hmm. And Miles wasn't like ineffective by any stretch, but he wasn't, to your point, he wasn't Miles. He was sort of muted in that respect. And again, the end of the game when they were calling timeouts, Myles Garrett and Malik Collins weren't going to the sideline. They were resting right there on the field. They were really tired. Yeah. Again, this is where you get in this whole, I don't say this is an excuse. I say this is an explanation because they lost and they have to own that. The international thing is just so annoying because of what it does to these big guys and their bodies. And you're like, these guys are premier athletes. They should be able to deal with it. But like, they are big people. And it's sort of just, it impacts you in ways that you're not necessarily aware of until it happens. So, yeah.
No, I was just going to say it's NFL football. Your margin for error is paper thin every single week. So when you have even a slight setback, even just like not preparing the way you're used to, or any of those things can correlate for sure. I hate when the Browns have to play overseas. I hate it because like this year we lose a home game, and damn well it's going to affect this week and next week. It's tough. It's tough on the players. It absolutely is.
To then get to play the Steelers who are
coming off the bye
on the road, who have their bye week, and you play the Packers who had the mini bye. Mm-hmm. It's, and again, this is the thing where people don't care. They see the record and they go, so what? But it is legitimately a brutal. Even seeing it before the season, you're like, this is going to be awful, and going through it is terrible. Yeah. It is terrible going through this thing. So hopefully, I would love nothing more than beat the Steelers. It's always they just, unless the playoffs, they just don't do it on the road. Yeah. But hopefully they can surprise, because then it gets infinitely easier after that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, just for what it was, Miles wasn't the way he wasn't what he needed to be. Fortunately, we got, like I said, inconsistent, but finally there was a point in the game where literally Alex Wright blows through Justin School's inside gap. It was like, finally they took advantage of him and got a sack. But again, some of that comes down to they schemed up answers. They got the ball out of Carson Wentz's hand. And what was really, and Alex Wright missed one sack. I thought he had dead to rights. I could not believe, there were multiple times I could not believe Carson Wentz was getting out of the pocket and being like, how is he there? And then what made
How about the spin move that he pulled on Schlesinger? Like, what was it? Was he at North Dakota State? I haven't seen a spin from him for 10 years.
And then to make it worse, like, you're sitting there going, you could have said, if you came out of this game and go, oh, man, the Browns did Carson Wentz, you'd be like, of course they did. They probably batted him in the backfield. No, it was him scrambling forward and trying to juice Carson Wentz. Yeah. Just having to light up his shoulder. Like, it was so bizarre how often he was running with the football.
Yeah.
And we're getting to the point where Max Brosmer is getting ready to go into the game. You're like, okay.
That kid had a deer in headlights look. I was licking my chops at that idea.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, all right. Well, speaking of Schlesinger and the linebackers, he made some big hits, but I feel like this was his least effective game.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he's so good. He's so good. But here again, the defensive tackle position wasn't as good, and the Vikings were able to stretch him out in ways he has not experienced so far in the NFL. And not only was it the perimeter stuff, but it was pulling him out in space, and then that opening up a little bit of room for TJ Hawkinson to operate. Mm-hmm. Nobody has done this to him so far this season, where they've just pushed, pulled, stretched everything, asked him to do so much. Like, I don't want to say his head was spinning or anything, but
it was on a swivel though.
Yes. So there were just plays that they were able to make against him that haven't happened this season, and he still was still a good player. It's just, there's people talking about him as like he has the potential to be all pro, and I agree with them.
Yeah.
But this was, again, worst game. I didn't see a whole lot from Devin Bush out of this game. I thought Jerome Baker got exposed a couple times.
Yeah.
Again, this is where the Vikings just did a great job messing with the middle of the defense in a way that just nobody has been able to this year.
Yeah. And and not for nothing, this is a Vikings team that is also in a different place than we are. This is a team that won 14 games last year. This is a team that has playoff and Super Bowl aspirations if they can figure out quarterback. But either way, all right. So let's talk about the secondary a little bit. I thought outside of the last touchdown, obviously, I got to tell you, Pete, I am continually blown away at Denzel Ward. His ability, he's so he's like a cat. Like his feet and his hips and his ability to stick to guys and just accelerate with guys and just find. I'm so impressed with him. I think he's the best pure cover guy in football right now. How would you feel about that?
He's really good at man coverage. The problem is, when you play a team like the Vikings, they have going into the year, there were two teams that scared the crap out of me from a talent standpoint in terms of things they could do to the Browns defense. Beyond like the Ravens, because they have Lamar Jackson and a bunch of weapons. There's Detroit and Minnesota. And obviously Minnesota with a backup quarterback and backup lineman, you're going, okay, that's different. But because of the receivers they have, they're going to get you eventually if you're playing nothing but man coverage. And so you have to, and the Browns tried to change up a couple times and go in zone, including on the last play of the game. And Denzel Ward has a bad habit of being in the wrong place when it comes to zone coverage. And this was one of those times. He wasn't deep enough. So, yeah, he's fantastic at man coverage, but in some ways, and I'm not suggesting they need to throw him out or throw it out, but it is frustrating how he is the guy that usually gets picked on or he is the guy who's sort of at the center of an issue when it comes to zone coverage, because it does limit you what you're going to do. So in the end, you end up in a world where you need to score more. Those are the weeks you need to find a way to score a whole lot of points. And again, the Vikings scored 21. This is hardly the end of the world.
Yeah.
But you can see where this goes. And then, or the defense has to figure out whatever, to borrow Jim Schwartz's lingo, find a changeup, find a curveball. Their fastball is incredible. Yeah. Their fastball blows people away. But when guys can get to it, and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Kevin O'Connell and Carson Wentz caught up to it, they tend to hang their curveballs over the middle of the plate, and teams are able to take advantage. And that's the one continuing frustration I have here in year three, that for whatever reason they have not been able to get that part better. But it is what it is. Again, I'm not going to sit here and go the defense lost this game. My overall take is everybody lost the game, because in the same way that if the Browns held on and won, everybody would have contributed to winning the game.
Yeah.
Greg Newsome, I'm thrilled with what I'm getting out of Greg Newsome.
Yeah.
Now there were one play he got stripped, turned around, and then the play where he took poor leverage on the tackle.
Yeah.
Those are plays that you'd like back. But overall, he's there, he's competing, he does all these things. I continue to like what I see from Miles Harden. They seemingly have the guys to do what they want to do in the man coverage element of this, and can compete with everybody. And I don't know how many more teams they're going to face where you're going to sit there and go, we've got to find a way to deal with a Justin Jefferson, a Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. Was Adam Thielen even there?
I didn't, honestly. I saw more Naylor than Thielen personally.
Yeah,
he made a few really nice plays.
And that was sort of the thing, is they went on that last drive, and it's this is where you get sort of frustrated. It's 3rd and 4. Everybody in the building knows they're running man coverage. They run motion. Miles Harden's not going to win. He's completely caught up. This is just by nature of the formation of the play. Yeah. And they can pick up an easy first down when they need one. That's sort of where you get frustrated with this. But I'm not going to get bogged down and go, the defense is broken and this is the end of the world.
Of course.
It's just one of those things that eventually, in a world where the Browns are a contender, these are some of the things they're going to have to eventually solve.
Yeah. Well, going back to Newsome, from what you've seen right now, I mean, if he maintains this and he stays healthy this year, you resign him, no?
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Now, does that mean $100 million contract? No, but it's absolutely try to keep him in the fold. And I think they're going to keep Martin Emerson in the fold. Obviously, his situation's different.
Well, does he have? He's in the last year of his deal?
Yeah, I mean that's why the injury was just awful for him.
Yeah,
I think they'll try to find a way to keep him, and then they're going to have to continue to add to that room. But look, I mean, in terms of as long as the locker room does not revolt, which I don't think is going to happen, this is the setup they want. I mean, if you're Jim Schwartz and this is where I'm going to be. I've got Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. They do all the things I want to do, and Miles Harden seemingly has some ability. I'm absolutely trying to keep this thing together. Maybe somebody's going to try to pay Greg Newsome a mint. I don't see it, but he absolutely fits with the Browns. And like his whole thing, not unlike David Njoku when he tried to hold out, was listen. I'm just trying to maximize my life here, my monetary value. But if I can get it in Cleveland, I'm absolutely going to take it. And that's all Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome seemingly wants to play in Cleveland for a very long time, likes the scheme, and now he's in the position where he's always wanted to be. And unfortunately for Martin Emerson, it's going to be almost impossible for him to come back off an Achilles and just be like, yep, I'm the starter again.
Yeah, I can.
So to me, and the Browns are going to have way more money to spend. So, yeah, you're going to re-sign Greg Newsome. You can say you're the starter outside. It's just a question of where do the numbers work out? Where do the years work out? Maybe it's a 1 year. Maybe it's a 2 year. I'll let them figure that out because they've got time to sort of, keep letting Greg Newsome prove it. But just from even if Martin Emerson was healthy, I can't help but feel like this is a better overall picture for this thing in terms of getting your two guys who can play outside man coverage and just man up guys and be like, this is what we got. Like, I think I like this I like what Martin Emerson does. I like what he can be. I like the way he played in 2023. I still think this is the better situation. Obviously I wish his Achilles wasn't torn and everything else, but I think I like the defense better with Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome on the outside.
All right. Well, let's talk about safeties real quick. I'm starting to grow fond of Ronnie Hickman. I like Ronnie Hickman. I think he's a tough kid. I feel like he had the fumble recoveries. So he made a couple nice tackles, a couple hits. How do you feel about how he's progressed, man? Because this is his first bite at the apple as a full-time starter.
I think part of the problem is Ronnie Hickman's never going to be the guy that I think some people want him to be. He's not a true free safety. He's never going to be Ed Reed. Yeah. Like he's more comfortable playing downhill in the box and doing something. He can play over the top, but he's going to be a combo safety. Like I think there are a whole lot of people who want what Juan Thornhill was supposed to be. That true center fielder who's going to make plays on the ball down the field and do those type of things. They want that true ball hawk back there. And I don't know that Jim Schwartz is necessarily married to that idea. If he was, why go this route? But Ronnie Hickman has made some mistakes in terms of tackles. There was one play where he filled and got a tackle for 0 yardage where it was like, wow. And that's the part where you're like a true free safety in that way is not going to do that. Now, there are the people who have this dream of somehow getting Caleb Downs to be on this team, and we're just never going to play offense.
Quarterback or tackle don't matter, Pete.
Yeah. So, in that world, in that sense, Ronnie Hickman's never going to measure up. Look, he had an awful game against the Ravens. There's no getting around it. But I agree with you. I think he's growing. Look, if he's your 11th best guy on this defense, it's hardly the end of the world. You maybe you go into the draft and you go, hey, we're in the 3rd or 4th round. We really like a guy. Maybe he can beat him out. Okay, fine. But for right now, I'm fine with what they've got with him. And it's partly because I continue to be in the camp that Grant Delpit never gets enough credit.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to ask about Delpit. I mean, look, he's had a hell of a lineup for these first 5 games with tight ends, man. You want to talk about a gauntlet? That's his schedule's been as tough as the Browns' schedule.
Yes, and I don't even know what T.J. Hawkinson had yards wise. And look, T.J. Hawkinson, in fairness, has had injuries that have sort of limited. He's not as good as he has been before some of these injuries. But Mark Andrews, Tucker Kraft, granted, dinged up but played.
Yeah. Sam
Laporta, and now T.J. Hawkinson. And
even
we're not
week 1, though, Gesicki and Noah Fant are talented too.
And we're not sitting here going, man, tight ends are killing this team. Like, he does a really good job. And the other thing is, how much are people really paying attention to safety? There's a lot of times where he's picking up matching slot receivers and doing some of that. Like, he's a really good football player. And, like, I'm so thrilled that the Browns were able to extend him when they did into the price they did, because the second he got under contract, safety money went crazy. But, like, genuinely, like, at some point it's going to happen. At some point it's going to happen, and it'll be this week because I'm talking about it, just like it was last week where I said the Browns defense was basically a kill everybody from here on out based on talent scheme. This will be the week where it happens. But, like, Brent Delpit is killing tight ends.
Yeah.
He's absolutely killing it. Like, that's not what is beating the Browns.
No, I feel like Hawkinson, I feel like I saw more tight end in this game than we've seen all year. But even that, he had 6 catches for 38 yards. That's hardly, a problem or a nuisance for a defense. All right, well, let's look forward to this weekend in Pittsburgh. Always super duper fun to see that awful stadium filled with awful people and those awful towels. What do you think about this matchup besides a really, really tough spot for a rookie making his second start coming back from Europe?
Well, the first question is, who's playing for the Steelers?
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey was hurt. Alex Highsmith was hurt. They've got a number of guys who are battling various injuries. I don't know who's going to be in and who's going to be out. And Mike Tomlin, maybe it was just hope, was talking in terms of feeling better about guys. I don't know. Jalen Ramsey hurt his hamstring. I would.
Yeah, that's always tough.
I'd really like to not have to face Jalen Ramsey because right now he's the best player on that defense.
Yep.
So if he wants to rest up, listen, man, take care of you. Just think about the long haul. And then the corner, Joey Porter Jr. I think he's going to play. He had been down. But just in terms of the matchup, I am super encouraged based on what Dylan Gabriel was able to do against Minnesota. Because 1, he did well against pressure, and 2, he did really good against a team that wants to run a lot of trap zones. And that's what the Steelers are going to do. Now, it remains to be seen if the Browns are able to handle the Pittsburgh Steelers pressure. They've got an incredible front, and they're going to do some weird things with blitzing. But if Dylan Gabriel can be decisive and just make the proper reads and not get caught in these traps, he could be a real problem for them. And again, this is a lot to put on a rookie in the second ever start, but just listen to what I'm saying. He can be a real problem for them. Well, whether that's going to happen or not, he does things that just drive the Steelers nuts.
No.
Puts the ball in the right spot and moves on. And then the other thing that works to the Browns' benefit, the Steelers have not been very good stopping the run so far. And they've been playing rather generic football in terms of their defense for a team that is that gifted in terms of talent. And the complaint in Pittsburgh for fans who are unhappy is the most expensive defense in the league that's not playing all that, that high level. What worries me about this is TJ Watt as a underneath presence. It's the play where TJ Watt steps forward like he's going to rush and then
drops back and
feathers
gets a
the
quick
play. Feathers the play, comes underneath and comes up and either tips it or intercepts it. That's the stuff that scares the crap out of me with this team because he's really good at it. Say what you will about him as a pass rusher and his frankly, pedestrian pass rush win rate. That is what makes him special. That is what's going to send him to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. That's this part that scares the crap out of me. Nate Herbig is really good. On the other side, if Highsmith doesn't play, and I don't think he will, Herbig's speed rush is problematic because it's the one thing that's going to hurt Dylan Gabriel is being able to beat somebody fast enough off the snap and get in the backfield that fast. Can the Browns hold up against Cam Hayward? History says no, unless it's a random dude that shows up the day of the game in the playoffs, then he will dominate Cam Hayward.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that make me worry about this, but if they can get it go, the other thing is that the Steelers have struggled with tight ends. Go figure. The Browns the one thing they have is tight ends. Mm-hmm. If they can run the ball, if they can do those things that they've done well, I mean, the things they're playing to their strengths are problematic for the Steelers. But the Steelers cause a ton of turnovers. The Steelers make you work for it. That element of the game is very concerning from that end. And the thing you can't have happen, which tends to happen, is the Steelers will not only cause a turnover, but score and take the burden off what is a not very good offense.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that offense now. So obviously last week they were on the bye, but the week before they kind of found their footing with the running game against the Vikings with Kenneth Gainwell. And then what's his name? Our boy from Iowa finally had a nice game for the Steelers. Caleb Johnson. What is your biggest concern with this offense? Is it Rodgers getting the ball out quick? Is it establishing the run?
So let's start with why they were effective in the run game against the Vikings. The Browns, I don't know if the Browns would admit this or whatever. They just stole what the Steelers did. Steelers put all their tight ends on the field and said, we're going to run at you. And the Vikings couldn't stop them. That is all that was. Now, I have the same reaction you do. They started to get their thing online. And Kenneth Gainwell, for whatever you want to say, he is playing well. Mm-hmm. His success rate is quite high for the guy that nobody seems to want to be out there on any given snap. He's not Jalen Warren, who may be hurt, and he's not Caleb Johnson, who I think knows the rules on kickoff at this point. But Gainwell has been good, and that's sort of annoying. And then the fact that Aaron Rodgers is the only quarterback in the league with less air yards than Dylan Gabriel right this second. Mm-hmm. The ball does not go far. That seemingly could be really good for the Browns, given the style of defense they play. What concerns me on that end is if they can get DK Metcalf in the open field, he's a beast. Mm-hmm. You don't have a great matchup for him at corner. You can activate Dom Jones and try to put him out there if you really want to, but this is where not having Martin Emerson kills you. Yeah, because this is who Martin Emerson would be covering.
Well, and everybody else on our roster is a Smurf compared to DK.
And that's the problem. You could put Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward together, and they'd
still be undersized.
The same as DK Metcalf.
Yeah,
he's just a beast. So, can you prevent him from getting the ball in his hands? I expect that the Steelers are going to try to create some rub action, the way the Vikings did, I'll try to explain it like this. With the Vikings game, there were a lot of people who are sort of annoyed that the Browns didn't press up on Jordan Jefferson. What the Vikings kept doing was they would basically play two receivers really close together, sort of one sort of kind of in front of the other, mm-hmm. Basically 1 yard by 1 yard behind him. And what that did was if you were going to press, it immediately created an easy rub to get wherever you wanted to go. That is what scares the crap out of you. So the Browns' reaction was naturally, we're going to back up a little bit and see who declares and goes where, and then pick them up from there. That then allowed Justin Jefferson on a couple plays to get a running start, which created some problems. That's what you worry about with DK Metcalf. Once he gets ahead of steam, are you going to be able to sort of run with him and slow him down? Are the Browns going to be inclined to try to use bigger bodies? For example, if DK Metcalf's in the slot, and obviously the Steelers have a ton of tight ends, or is there a point where they're going to say, Grant Delpit, we're going to put you on him at least to get contact or something along the lines? Are the Browns going to decide to try to put a linebacker to chip and try to reduce the burden, or put Rayshon Jenkins out there as a third safety and try to physically beat him up somehow, some way to just set up mess up your timing. That's the real challenge for this. Calvin Austin is really annoyingly good. I don't know if Roman Wilson's done anything yet to this point, I'll be honest. But Calvin Austin's a guy who's seemingly been just a pain in the side of the Browns. Matchup-wise, the Browns have guys for that, but he's good.
Yeah.
And then, the tight end element. How much are they going to lean into Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith and, the left tackle that they have playing tight end?
Yeah, Darnell Washington. Are we going to handle them as well as we've handled the other guys? I mean, that's kind of one of our strengths.
Now, the other thing are the Steelers going to do what they just did against the Vikings? Are they going to just say, screw it, we're going to put a whole bunch of guys on the field? Now, the Browns do have an answer for this, a better answer than the Vikings. They can get into a 50 front without hesitation. Jim Schwartz is not afraid to go that route. And in some ways, that might be an advantage and maybe able to short circuit it. Mason Graham on your center one-on-one is a pretty good situation to be in if you're the Browns. Now, the thing that works really well in the Browns' favor is Broderick Jones continues to exist. And God willing, he's going to get that contract extension.
Yep.
And the Steelers have questions on the offensive line in terms of pass protection. So Aaron Rodgers is going to be it's in that sense, you just got the dress rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
It's decisive. It's get the ball out quick. We're trying to get out of this. The difference is, one, they don't have Kevin O'Connell, and two, they don't have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and others. I still want to see how Jim Schwartz is going to sort of better solve that issue this week.
Yeah.
But, between that and what is hopefully a stronger performance from the defensive line, that gives you some hope. Better performance from the linebackers, that gives you some hope. So, other than the fact it is the Steelers on the road, and this is it is what it is when it comes to the Browns.
Yeah.
You got to sort of like the matchups. I'm certainly not guaranteeing anything, but and that's a good point. Aaron Rodgers is not running.
No,
he's not going to be putting a spin move on Carson Sweatshirt the way that Wentz did. In that sense, you probably feel good about this, but the worry you have. So, I'd like to think based on what both teams are doing, both defenses should be good, but the Browns might have a slight advantage in their offense is a little bit better in terms of what the Steelers have been doing than the Browns have been. The same point is they have even if they've gotten to a slow start, they're still 3-1, and they just had the bye week. Did this allow them to retool and fix things? Are they going to suddenly come out really good and be problematic from that standpoint? That's the part that's really, really discouraging from this standpoint. Is again, you're getting another team on a break in their place. Can they overcome that?
Yeah. Well, I feel like on the surface, you look at the records and it looks like it's more lopsided than it really is. I feel like the Browns are, 2 plays away from being 3-2 right now. And the Steelers are how many turnovers away from? I mean, their differential is rivaled only by Jacksonville. So, it's going to be an interesting game. I'd much rather it be in Cleveland, but it is what it is.
Here's the one thing I'll say about that. Look, if Dylan Gabriel's still figuring this thing out, let's get all the awful games out of the way now. Hopefully he can get going and get comfortable and they can get on a run. Now, I don't want them to be 1-5, but if they can steal one, it will feel really, really good. Everybody will change their tune on this team immediately in Northeast Ohio if the Browns beat the Steelers on the road and Dylan Gabriel is able to get them there. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to lose, not saying they will or should, if you're going to lose, do it on the road and get it over with, because then you come back with home games the bye week and hopefully get this thing really, really going on track.
All right. So before we start talking about our division rival, the Baltimore Ravens, did you see the trade? I caught snippets in the chat about it, but Odafe Owa to the Chargers for Alohi Gilman.
Yeah, I have no idea why either of these teams made this trade.
Yeah, I don't either, to be honest with you.
The Ravens do not have enough pass rush. Granted, Mike Green is sitting there. I understand. I don't. Maybe Kyle Van Noy is back now. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but that is their biggest weakness. Odafe Owe has never gotten sacks. He's always dating back to college. He never got sacks, but he was always sort of a pressure guy. So I don't necessarily understand why the Chargers want him. And then on the other hand, I understand that the Ravens lost Darius Washington. That actually does hurt what they want to do defensively. They've got Kyle Hamilton. They've got Starks. And now they want Louis Gilman too. Like, I guess it works for what they need. That our Darius Washington thing to do, and maybe that frees them up. But like, I don't know that this makes anyone all that much better. And I guess in some ways, I'm sort of surprised that the Ravens were willing to part with Odafe Owe with so little, like seemingly so little for it. And that's not. I guess that makes me sound really hard on Louis Gilman. It's just like, I guess it's because, former first round pick and all this for, a fine safety. I get the other part I don't know off the top of my head is what else the Chargers have at safety that makes them feel compelled. Obviously, Derwin James. I don't know what else they have there that makes them feel good about being able to part with Gilman.
Yeah, I don't either, to be honest with you. I mean, Elijah Molden, Tony Jefferson, Kendall Williamson, R.J. Mickens. Those are
Tony
the holdovers
Jefferson
right
has
now.
been okay for them. I mean,
he's old, yeah.
He's been around a minute, but like, and maybe that's it. They just feel like they've cobbled this thing together. Obviously, they want more pass rush.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I feel like, like you said, he doesn't necessarily get the sacks. I feel like he's a good run defender. This Ravens defense has been highly thought of the last couple of years. He's been a big part of that. He's not a bad player. I'm just surprised by it. I don't think it moves the needle for any team in any direction. I just found it interesting.
Yeah, it's like, despite the fact that they are reasonably talented players, it just feels like we're getting rid of a guy we don't want anymore for a guy you don't want anymore.
Yeah.
But it comes with the attachment of, again, former first-round pick. Now, having said that, every mock draft, just go ahead and put defensive end or whatever, pass rusher for the Ravens, because they have nothing there. And Mike Green maybe he's going to figure it out. Yeah. But they got nothing. They are getting nothing from that. Kyle Van Noy is 100 years old. So even though he continues to do stuff for them, it's not a long-term plan. So, yeah, and that goes beyond, like, what the hell is going on in Baltimore in general?
Oh, my gosh. How about, what was it, 44-7? That game was? What did that game finish? They got –
that was 44-10.
44-10, yeah.
Yeah, I mean –
Nick Chubb had a big touchdown run.
This is where I get accused of being, like, overly defensive of Kevin Stefanski. If the Browns played like that in week 5, there would be a riot.
Yep.
Like, John Harbaugh has a Super Bowl ring. John Harbaugh is a respected coach. That team flat out quit. They flat out quit. That team, they had no interest in being there. Now, look, I was flabbergasted when Cooper Rush signed with Baltimore Ravens, but the second Lamar Jackson got hurt, my immediate reaction is he's absolutely screwed.
Yep.
They don't block anybody.
No.
They didn't block anybody. He threw 3 picks. It was awful. Just everything about that. But look, they've got a lot of injuries. I get it. And the Madubuike thing is terrifying. I feel awful for him.
Yeah.
In the same way that, JOK, you just don't know with neck injuries.
Yeah.
But no Roquan, some other guys missing, but where's the Raven pride and all this other stuff I hear about? Houston Texans have they scored 44 points total this season?
Terrible. Like, Jacksonville was begging them to win, and they're like, no, we just can't do it.
Of course not.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So I don't know who the Ravens have this week. Maybe you do.
I'll tell you in just a minute.
But that's the other question is, that's being now openly asked in Baltimore. Is Derrick Henry
Rams at Ravens?
Like, if you come out and do that again, like, one, I think John Harbaugh is under siege right now. And that's not because I think the team, like the locker room is rebelling on him, though that may happen at some point.
Yeah.
It's the combination of the start of this season and the choice to hire basically a family member to be his defensive coordinator over other options, including Denard Wilson. And the fact the defense is not playing well.
That's tough.
He's been there forever. Look, like I'm certainly not advocating John Harbaugh be fired. I'm just not ruling it out. And if you're somebody who's sitting there, man, I can't wait till the Browns fire Kevin Stefanski. I got news for you. If the Ravens let go of John Harbaugh, we're not getting the top candidate. The Ravens have already beaten us on that one. So, like, these are the things you sort of have to consider with this. But, like, there is a ton of pressure. Look, I get it. If Lamar Jackson's going to be out this week, everybody's going to go, well, Lamar Jackson's out. If they're going to be 1-5, if they lose this Rams game, it's going to be ugly. This was a team, and look, there were skeptics in Baltimore. I'll give credit to Jason La Canfora. He's been all over this as being a skeptic for this team this season. They're supposed to be in the AFC Championship.
Oh yeah,
and they
like anything short of that is like a crazy disappointment.
Yeah,
you know. And look, at the end of the day, this is problematic for Baltimore because the only thing that could possibly save this season right now is Lamar returning and the offense becoming a juggernaut and kind of covering up for the defense while the defense gets healthy and then hopefully riding that momentum into the playoffs. But as we know with Lamar, he's already taken a beating this year. Yep. And when he feels that extra onus on him to be the engine for the offense, he's going to play the way he always plays in these big moments, which is reckless. He's going to take extra hits. He's going to hold on to the ball. He's going to try to create. This is bad news for Baltimore, man. And this is a team that signed a lot of guys and paid a lot of money for this year. Your Jair Alexander, your DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like on the one hand, because it's a hamstring injury, a lower body injury, you want to take extra time to heal it to make sure Lamar's 100%. Because anything less than that, it tends to have a slow burn until he ultimately gets hurt again. Hamstring in itself is an annoying, potentially nagging problem. So, and you're balancing that against, we got to get him back because he's got to win his football games. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a awful situation for them to be in. Is he going to be able to suddenly decide, no, I'm going to just operate from the pocket and get the ball out and do all these things and ping, 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 ping? I'm not saying he can't do it. I just think he is a guy that just doesn't feel comfortable doing that. And at some point will get frustrated. He doesn't see what he wants to see and goes, look, I'm Lamar Jackson. I can make this thing happen for all the reasons that anyone would if they had his athleticism.
Of course.
And then you try to turn it up and try to make a play that you can't make. And either you pull up again or you end up taking bad hits that make this situation go bad.
Yeah. And like he just said in the chat there, what pocket is he trying to sit in? You know, exactly. And that's my whole thing with Lamar. When he has a bad wheel, he's not the same player. He's a drastically different, and there's nothing wrong with that. When he's healthy, he's the most indefensible player I've ever seen in football. He's incredible. But man, when he loses a step and you can kind of box him in a little bit, he is not the same. He's not even, I don't think he's close to the same tier, let alone the same player.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still great, but it's the difference between superhero and a great quarterback. Like that's the thing. And like the ceiling is so high that anything short of that does feel like a huge disadvantage. Yeah. And it does lend itself to further injury.
All right. Well, how about our now newly Joe Flacco led Cincinnati Bengals? What's
well, look, I mean, from if Joe Flacco, I don't know how quickly they're going to try to get him in the lineup. If it's going to be this week or whatever, your immediate reaction is, well, their offensive line is not blocking any better than the Browns, but he will have guys he will throw it up to.
Oh yeah.
And from that standpoint, you can sit here and go, I can see where this works.
Yeah.
Yes, it could work. Joe Flacco knows how to throw the ball. He will give guys an opportunity. Jamar Chase is going to go where he goes. And that, he gets to play Green Bay again, which I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm having a tough time understanding what the Bengals need from this season. It seems like they're trying to stay in this thing and try to find a way to win and make it work.
Well, because they think Burrow's coming back in December, right? That's the general thought and hope.
Yeah. I just don't know if any of this is realistic.
Yeah.
Their defense is not very good. Now, I will say this. How much of this was Detroit got by up so much that they took their foot off the gas and it allowed the Bengals to sort of make, it was 35, basically nothing. And then suddenly it was like 35-24. How much of that is Detroit thought the game was basically over and sort of took their foot off the gas pedal, and that was enough to allow them to get back into this thing? Or is this what the Bengals can be? I mean, even with Browning, at times they've been a really dynamic offense that can put up points and do all those things.
They won 9 games 2 years ago with Browning.
The other element of this is the defense. I think Shamar Stewart is close to back if he wasn't back already.
Mm-hmm.
And your hope, if you're the Bengals on defense, is you got a whole lot of young players. And if you can sort of hang in there, you're hoping that this group's going to get better.
Yeah.
I don't know how realistic that is, but I don't think it's necessarily out of the question either. If Shamar Stewart has, I don't know if he's actually registered a stat yet, but he's actually done some good things in terms of pressure. The former first-round pick, Miles, what's his last name? Miles, the dude from Clemson. He's actually picking it up. He's getting better.
Miles Murphy?
Yes, Miles Murphy. He's actually getting better. You still have Trey Hendrickson. You've got those young guys in the middle. I don't know if they're necessarily coming into form necessarily, but they are young players that can get better.
Yeah.
Your linebackers are reasonably okay, and you've got
Logan Wilson. Yeah, how's Derek Knight been?
I mean, Logan Wilson basically is the reason the Browns are not, beyond the kicks and weird interceptions thing. Logan Wilson is basically the most Bengals reason that the Browns didn't win that game.
Yeah.
At least on the defensive side of the ball. And then you've got what is a intriguing group of defensive backs with the Bengals. Dax Hill is sort of a weapon. Josh Newton has sort of been a pleasant little surprise for them. You've got Cam Taylor-Britt, who can be a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've got some guys back there. So again, like,
you at least see the vision, getting Burrow back, and if you can win enough games to stay in contention.
Again, can they protect him? I mean, they were god awful against Detroit. I think PFF is talking about they've got like the worst grade in terms of like games as a unit below a certain threshold, below 60 or something. And Joe Flacco's not moving anywhere. So look, if they can get in the way, they got big people. If they can just get in the way, Joe Flacco's gonna have time to operate, and he's got a ton of weapons. Is that going to be realistic? To be determined. But I can see how it could work.
Yeah. Well, let's move along to my favorite thing to talk about, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I would like to ask the Kansas City Chiefs to collectively fornicate themselves after that game. I can't get over this team having the 4-leaf clover up there. You know what, dude? That last play of Trevor Lawrence falls flat on his face, tries to get up because he said he was panicking, trying to throw the ball away, falls down again, and then gets up and runs for a touchdown.
Yeah. The only way that could be Browns year is if he actually did it against the Browns.
Yeah.
It's like they knew that the draft pick was on the line.
Yeah.
That play was hysterical for any number of reasons. Chris Jones is standing there waiting for a bus.
Oh my God.
The one DN who's like in what becomes Trevor Lawrence's path, the left guard absolutely shillelaghs him out of the way. And then, the rest of the defense is just sort of hanging out. And like the Kansas City Chiefs, every single kick return, every single kickoff, they committed a penalty. Every single one.
Yep.
When they weren't holding on kick return and wasting my precious clock, which I needed them to win, they're kicking the ball out of bounds. Like, and that's the other thing. Like, let's bring this back to sort of the Browns, because I'm going to tie some other teams into this. I don't know if it's because, one, I can't blame anybody if they're a Browns fan. They literally just watch the Browns and don't do anything else with the NFL. Like, fine, so be it. But there are a whole lot of people who I think watch nothing but Red Zone.
Yeah.
And do not realize how bad the NFL is right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's awful. Like, genuinely bad. For people who saw the Arizona Cardinals throw that game away, I've watched the Browns for 30 plus years. I'm stunned at how they threw that game away. Between the running back causing a touchback and then get sort of assaulted by his head coach, which, to be fair, justified. Then to throw a pick, which Kyler Murray throws a pick, somehow is fumbled. They pick it up and then score. Or not? No, Cam Ward.
Cam Ward, yeah.
That was insane. And so, like, the Chiefs are supposed to be a team that is expected to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
They look like an amateur hour for most of this game, and got away with what seemed to be an egregious PI penalty on the pick.
Yeah, but then bailed him out at the end. Yeah. And then how about the throw down the sideline to Brian Thomas? Like at Ford State, his eyes weren't even open. That was unbelievable. You go from picking your nose on the sideline to running backwards and falling down twice to magically delivering a perfect pass to a man with his eyes closed. Perfect.
Yeah.
And that was after taking a horrible sack. The one thing you can't do in that scenario is take a sack, and he takes a sack. Gets up and then throws that. If
the Chiefs touched him when he fell down at the end, the game's over.
Yeah. Yes.
It would have absolutely completely screwed everything up for them. They would have won the game.
Well, Chris Jones had dropped into zone coverage was the problem, Pete. That's why he didn't pursue. He was just hanging back.
Then the other game that sort of I'm watching is the Buffalo Bills are basically treating the regular season like we're just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
We are just trying to get through it. Like,
they are. Talk to a Buffalo fan. Nobody wants to talk about football until January. Nothing has happened yet. The Chiefs are still alive. They're going to beat us.
Don't get me wrong. Drake May is fantastic.
Yes.
But Buffalo is so uninterested in what's going on in the game. Like, it seems like the play calling is uninterested. It seems like Josh Allen is just sort of half there. And what made that particularly fascinating to me was like they took the most lackadaisical approach for most of that game and then decided, screw it, Josh Allen, you're going to run the ball 17 times and you're going to win. You're going to come back and win this game. We're going to half-ass the game and then decide we're going to beat you up real good.
Hero ball.
Like even that game, like the Patriots won. They fumble the ball endlessly.
Yeah.
They commit stupid personal fouls and all these penalties and still win because, again, Drake May is just that good. But, like, this is sort of what I look like in the NFL. Like, all these people are like, the Browns are the worst team ever and all this other stuff. Like, there's no talent in this team. Like, watch other games. It is bad. Like, who's the team you think of that's like, who's the good team right now? Who's the team you think right now, right this second, is the best team in the NFL?
Detroit. And Detroit is a team. Detroit's a team that we belonged on the field with until the offense completely gave the thing away. Like I'm with you. I feel like we're far closer than people realize. You're taking snapshots. You're watching Red Zone. You're watching SportsCenter. You're checking the highlights on NFL.com or whatever you're doing. You're not watching the ups and downs and the ebb and flow of a game. Every team has the mistakes. The coaches all have bad calls. They all mismanage time. They all waste timeouts. All that shit happens every Sunday.
Like the Philadelphia Eagles lost their first game of the season, and a whole bunch of fans doxed the offensive coordinator. Like, what is wrong with you people? But this is the NFL, and like, Philadelphia is the reigning Super Bowl champion who's got a chance, in the current league to do this. Look, I think by the time the Bills get to the playoffs, they will get into gear enough to be a real threat. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you right this second. I think the Lions are the scariest team in the league.
Yeah.
The Packers are obviously very talented, but like it just feels like every team right now is a mess. And some of this is where we are in the schedule, but just legitimately, there's just a whole lot of bad football going on. We just sort of ignore it and go, like, this is what, and this is sort of, as much as I say this in sort of defense of the Browns, it also makes the loss that much more frustrating. The Browns didn't do these things. And, we're at a stage in the NFL where right now, as long as you don't do anything wrong, you generally win the football game. The Browns didn't do anything necessarily wrong. Obviously, they could have done more things right, and they lost the football game. Like, it's crazy how just genuinely mediocre the league is. And a lot of this comes down to the offensive line. The state of the league is terrible at being able to protect anybody. The few teams that have, and Buffalo is one of them. They have a good offensive line. The Eagles are one of them, have a good offensive line. Detroit is one of them, have a good offensive line. Is that they also have quarterbacks that are pretty good, but nevertheless, to them right now, it feels like a luxury to have 5 guys you can trust up front and get it done. But even so, and it's not like this is the first time. Buffalo was getting boat raced by the Ravens before the Ravens gagged week 1. So, don't get me wrong. I think Buffalo's going to win that division. I think Detroit is a very good team. I think Philadelphia is fine, but when people are constantly telling me the Browns are 3 years away from being 3 years away, and it's going to take several more off seasons, just get a quarterback and block.
Yeah.
If you can do those things, man, they are right back in the mix of this thing. And obviously they have to prove it. I can say this all day. They have to do it. But man, it's also why you can't count them out on any of these games. Obviously, if they go out and win, again, I can't say this enough. They go out and beat the Steelers, it changes everything. Everything. Just from a morale standpoint, if nothing else. But
that's the fan base, though. That's the fan base. They're going to live and die off the results of the weekend. That's just how it is. And everything is always taken to the extreme based on whatever emotion you're feeling. Victory Monday, we're freaking making plans for the Super Bowl parade, But when they lose, it's okay, who the hell's going to coach next year? Because these bums are the worst.
Yeah. I mean, look, nothing would be better than them going out and winning this game. They could have had it last week. Could have had the Bengals game. They got it. They got to do it. And that's the other part with as I say this in terms of they did sort of everything. They didn't do anything wrong in that game. Given where they are right now, that only really gives them sort of a 50-50 shot to win, unfortunately. And they really need to be way better than 50% in those games if they're going to sort of be able to turn this around, or the offense is going to have to get going in a more meaningful way. But right at this second, they're in the shot where they are trying to get in a situation where they're in a coin flip. And that's a tough way to operate.
Yeah, no, and it definitely is. And with the youth on the team, the injuries in certain spots, the weaknesses in certain spots, the margin for error is so thin that it is very possible for them to shoot themselves in the foot and out of a victory every single Sunday. And I think that's now the task that's been placed on Dylan Gabriel's mantle. This is his show now, And let me ask you this: going into this weekend at Pittsburgh, I mean, obviously statistics never matter, okay? But what do you need to see from him to keep building, to keep stacking good performances and get the offense going? What is your ideal outcome for Sunday with Dylan Gabriel?
Well, beyond just winning, it's just, look, if he can show the command he showed against the Vikings, against the Steelers, I'm going to be happy. If he can build on that and make a few more plays, if we get more receivers involved, and I'd like to think, based on what the Steelers are doing, that's going to be more possible.
Yeah,
I want to see, what I would sort of figuratively felt like the offense is sort of not really, just sort of condensed. I want to see it start to widen out a little bit.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yes. I want to see that element of this, but ultimately it's continue to protect the football. And now, that's obviously the most important part. Continue to drive the offense in the sense of operate within it. But now can you start elevating the offense? Can you take that next step? Now, obviously it's a tough task in 1 week, but that's sort of the next step where we're looking for right now. You can grade them on a curve and say controlling the football, protecting the football, avoiding mistakes, and occasionally coming up with points is enough. But if in terms of ultimately the real question, can he be that guy? It's can he start elevating? Can he start taking the next steps? And can he put this team in a position where obviously one, they surpassed 20 points in a game. And then two, can he start being the reason the offense is working as opposed to working within the offense?
Well, let me ask you this, because my chief concern with Gabriel is the physical skill set and the size limitations. Okay. And the reason I say that is because I feel like if he's got a clean pocket and he's got good mechanics, he's got his feet on the rim and everything like that, he's got every physical tool that you need to be a good player at this level. But I'm going to throw out a name that I love to throw out. The whole comparison with him and Tua, that's my issue with Tua, because you're rarely afforded a clean pocket, and you almost always need to make off-platform throws and uncomfortable throws. And I'm not convinced he can do that at a high level yet. That's going to be my main focus for this Pittsburgh game. I want to see him be able to stretch the field a little bit and to be able to put a little bit of pressure on the Pittsburgh secondary. And I want to see him from the pocket make more plays downfield, because I love the operation with the quick passing game. I think it's great. The touchdown to Fannin was excellent. It was, number one, it was a phenomenal call, but he was so quick and so clean with it. The placement was perfect. The touchdown to Njoku coming back on it wasn't his first read. He had to come back to. He threw a great ball between it wasn't incredible coverage, but it was definitely a crowded area. So it's like I'm intrigued with a lot of it. And we always talk about it. We talk about how he raises the floor, and we eventually think they're going to go after a guy that's going to raise the ceiling. Right. I just want to see how high can his ceiling get. Is he going to show enough that we're like, hey, you know what? We don't need to take a quarterback in the first round this year if we don't love a guy. Let's get an offensive tackle. Let's get a wide receiver. Let's build up a little more of the cockpit and see just how good he can be. I don't see enough physically from him to be like, yeah, I'm good with that yet.
I agree with you. And I think the key is he doesn't need to be a superstar to force the decision of, if I don't love a guy.
Yeah.
The Browns have to get to a point where they love a guy.
Yes.
They could be out of position. They could be any number of things where they don't love a guy. I do not want them, trading a bunch of picks for a guy that's like, we think
just a guy.
Yeah. I mean, so yes, that's really what Dillon Gabriel needs, what we're all hoping he can be, even if he's not the answer. I think part of what you're talking about, again, I think I saw in the first quarter and sort of late in the game, I just want the ball to come out of his hand with confidence, explode out of his hands, which I did see to Jerry Jeudy on that third down play to the right, or to David Njoku. Like, it's in there.
Yeah.
But yes, that's where I totally understand the Tua thing, but I don't think he needs to throw with quite as much anticipation down the field as Tua does. Yeah. Like, Tua does the ball does.
He's got a better arm than Tua.
Yes,
his arm's light years better than Tua.
Yes,
yeah, I was mostly just like, he's not a first guy off the bus guy.
Yes,
he doesn't have that arm that can rip through just about anything you throw at it. Like, he doesn't. He needs a little more ideal circumstances, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think look, when I watched the game, the first thing I started thinking was, okay, I see the Case Keenum vision. Like, I see it.
Yeah.
Can that carry over? Because obviously they've done that and it's worked. Can he get to that point where, like, again, to your point, do they feel comfortable enough to not force it? Now, based on jumping from that, have you watched Hoover from TCU? Did you happen to catch any of that Colorado game?
No, not specifically.
John Mateer is sucking up so much of the oxygen for all the right reasons because of what he's doing in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Hoover's got a sneaky amount of swagger and control and like command of that offense. He does some stuff where you're like, man, he is pretty good.
But
and there was one
what
of the.
About? Keep going. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, what about Mendoza, man?
Well, look, Mendoza right now,
he's like a 6'5", 230 Gabriel.
Right. Well, right this second, he's got Oregon coming up. We're going to get a lot. And not only that, if they play the way they're playing, he's going to end up in the playoffs. We're going to get a ton of info on him.
Oh, for sure.
It's And look, I think right now he's positioning himself to potentially be at the top. Whether you think he's that good, whether you think he's number one pick worthy or not,
yeah,
certainly at least in the conversation, as is Dante Moore, though the question with Dante Moore has everything to do with, has he played enough? And
right? Yeah. Although, that kid he's a Cleveland kid, isn't he?
Yes, he's from Ohio.
That'll take over that evaluation, buddy. You know that.
Well, yeah, which is, always an interesting journey, given the fact that, I think people are trying to change Drew Alar's home address at this point and pretend he's not from here anymore.
Every time I watch, I'm like, why aren't you better? You'd be so perfect if you were just better.
But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of quarterback. Look, they need to get that guy. But the thing is, as all these people are getting mad at the various quarterbacks that were hyped up at the beginning of the season. Obviously, Arch Manning isn't what people hope. Drew Alar is not there. Cade Klubnik, not where they need to be. Lenore Sellers has so far to go, even though he's still probably going to end up in the first round. Though that would be the really interesting one if he's a late first round pick. You're sort of like, why not? He's got so many tools.
Yeah, but do you think he's got any chance of seeing a late first round pick? I feel like that'll be Anthony Richardson all over again, man.
Good. He could. He absolutely could.
With the measurements, he's going to interview well. He's a smart kid. There's no way he gets out of the top 5, let alone top 10.
But that's why, there's all these quarterbacks I keep seeing that are just interesting to me. The Big Ten, every team but Wisconsin has a quarterback that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what his ceiling is. I don't think it's super high, but just in terms of playing the quarterback position, I thought Drake Lindsay of Minnesota is the best quarterback Ohio State has played.
Yeah. Yeah. That kid's a freshman too, isn't he?
No, I think he's been there for a minute. I could be wrong. He's been there for a minute.
The kid from Maryland is a freshman, Pete. He might be a sophomore. I'd have to look it up. But I was impressed with him too. He's another one. He's like saying he's just clean.
Because the kid who transferred or the kid at Rutgers transferred from Minnesota to get out of this kid's way. And the kid from Rutgers is pretty good, the Greek kid. Yeah. But everybody's got one. I mean, we finally saw UCLA actually their quarterback play reasonably well. But the kid I want to see more of, I'm not projecting him in the first round. All I'm saying is he's interesting is Hoover from TCU. He's interesting. Colorado, not very good. I get it. But he won that game and looked like a dude. And no, I'm never going to buy into Carson Beck ever, 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 ever. There are people who are still talking about him as the first round pick. I will never, ever be in on Carson Beck. The second pressure comes, he's terrible. I cannot do it. I got to
tell you, he must have been a baseball player because he's 20, but he's a freshman.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I'm with you with Carson Beck for sure.
Cannot do it. Yeah. No chance. There are a lot of players I like on Miami. He's not one of them.
Yeah, no, give me Moaga, the tackle, or give me Ruben Bain. I'll take
the only thing I don't like about the right tackle from Miami is the way he pronounces his name is all kinds of confusing. Francis spelled like Francis Moaga, but I'm fairly sure he pronounces Moisoa or something like that. It's I'm all kinds.
I'm already out.
Yeah,
take him off the board. Take him off the board.
Yeah. Meanwhile, listen. If people want to keep talking about Caleb Downs, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to start saying, "Screw it." I'm drafting Ruben Bain just for spite.
Yeah. No, Ruben Bain. I'm sorry, dude. The way that kid's built, I get Reggie White vibes with that kid. He's got a 95. He's a beast. He's a beast.
If you go to PFF and you go to his little profile, every game is dark blue. He's absolutely dominant. Yes, he is. That he looks like that type of dude. For a guy who TJ Parker and those guys are supposed to be he looks like he's going to be. I don't know what kind of athlete he is, but he looks like he's I don't think he's going to be Myles Garrett, but I think he's going to be in the Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh yeah, world. I think he's going to be a force,
prospects. He could easily go one. He's a freak. Anyway. We get out of there on this. Shout out to producer Kevin for helping us out.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Always good, Pete. Obviously, this weekend, Pittsburgh. We'll be back next Tuesday, 8:00 to break that down. Always good, homie. You take it easy, brother. I'll catch you later.
Hero.
Yeah. Peace, buddy.